And we are here live 110 with Aidan, CEO of Carmoola. Welcome, Aidan, to the show.
Hey guys, nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you, Aidan.
We are thrilled to have you. So I think just to kick off, can you give us a quick intro into who you are and what Carmoola is?
Yeah, I am a serial entrepreneur. This is my second business I've now built, and Carmoola is a direct-to-consumer car finance lender that makes it easier, cheaper, and faster for consumers to get finance. So you can get it sorted before you go to the dealership and not get ripped off by all the big commissions and untransparent process that I'm sure we're all aware of.
Amazing. And so was that some of the primary motivations behind founding Carmoola?
Yeah, there was a couple of motivations. I've always been super passionate about helping consumers, especially when I see that something is a bit opaque or a bit, what I would say is a bit strange or a bit dodgy. And when I looked at the kind of car finance industry, there was a lot of big commissions being paid. It was very opaque. It was very kind of on digital and pretty poor kind of customer experience. And I just felt compelled to help them. And I really wanted to build a better way of doing it. And that was similar to my previous business. But yeah, I just love helping consumers, and anything that kind of makes it better for them, I'm on board and super keen to help.
Amazing. We love to hear it. You mentioned there that this is like your second business. I believe your first business, Move Bubble. What's it like founding a second time round? What are you doing differently this time, I guess?
So much easier, if I'm honest. I think so much easier. I think I spent seven, nearly 8 years on my last business, probably making every mistake possible. First time founder, didn't know really what you're doing, and you're learning as you go. And as I kind of went through that process, when I thought about building Carmoola, I wanted to get it right from day one. So I did a lot more testing, really kind of understanding what is the true size of the market opportunity, and then really like what is the true opportunity and revenue opportunity there. And then I did a lot of testing about how I was going to access that, what the demand for the product was. So I was very, very confident before I'd even started this business that the strategy was going to work. I understood what the economics and the unit economics would be, and use that, and as well as having like incredible people that you want to work with already, like the Amy, who's one of the co-founders, and also my wife, incredible product person, and also Roman and Igor, who are two technical co-founders, worked with them before, and so the team was already basically ready to go. We'd already worked together for a long time, and that kind of just helped accelerate the execution. So I think we delivered so much more. I think we've done more revenue in the first 6 months of launching Carmoola than what we did in 7 years with the previous business. So yeah, wow. A much faster scale.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about, you put a lot of kind of like, the product is built around kind of clarity and like user empowerment. What's the main kind of advice that you give, like growing a business over 20 million ARR, keeping that kind of user-centric approach? Like what's the kind of thing that you're always driving in on?
It's a really good question. I think like ultimately it comes down to the founder and how passionate is the founding team really about delivering customer value. And so we built values from day one, and one of those values is deliver wow. And so we talk a lot to the team about how do you go above and beyond for the consumer, and also like how do you go above and beyond in your just general work. And it's about getting things to sort of 110, 100%. And then it's talking about how do you do that extra 10 or 20% extra to make things incredible for the customer ultimately. And so we use values as core to drive. But the office, it's on the wall there's selfies of all the customers. We're using it all the time. Like the Slack channels are all very open. All of the customer feedback comes in all the time, and it's a big driver of the business. And I think it's also about measuring it as well. So I think our NPS is 94. Wow. You can see the customer reviews are pretty incredible. And so, and even as we've sort of scaled now, we're getting on to sort of 15,000 customers, you're kind of really seeing that consistency. Even like the last couple of weeks have been record after record week, and you're like tripling volume, and you're still able to deliver that same consistency is really kind of key. And you do that through a lot of the automation of the platform and various bits and pieces.
You talk about automation. What's the, there's so much talk and so much innovation happening in AI agents and stuff at the moment. Like, are you integrating that into, because I imagine there's a lot of like customer support going on, especially with the high value kind of transactions happening. What is your kind of take on the AI agent space, and are you looking into that a lot?
Yes, so like ultimately you need to build like an incredible data infrastructure and making sure the data is super clean. You're capturing a lot of data across the whole business, but we're using it obviously as a lending business. Like, if you're building any level of advanced data models for your underwriting, it's kind of core in terms of what you do anyway. But we're taking it to the next level. So we're using it a lot in acquisition, as we're a direct-to-consumer lender. We're using it to do things like extract the metadata from various different ads that you're doing. So TV ads, radio ads, not TV, like performance ads, all of the kind of colors, all the metadata effectively from that, and then running models on top of that to understand like what drives performance and how that then interlinks with credit risk. So you can get to this like really incredible kind of like customized data experience effectively for the consumer. But we're also using it in customer support where, if we're able to answer the customer's question that they have in a very quick way, then obviously we can do that through various agents. However, like so much of our platform was already automated. It's probably, we don't need to use like AI agents for collections and things like that, as the platform has already kind of been developed from day one using quite like dynamic payment plans and various other bits and pieces. So I think we only have 6 people in customer support. That includes collections. So very, very kind of low headcount in that space anyway.
Yeah, and you've always stayed lean, I think, right? I think I read somewhere that I think you were talking about the importance of like staying lean, growing smart. Is AI helping you to do that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that we basically have an internal metric where we're using like how much does this task get automated, like how many hours does it cut out? And so therefore you can kind of really focus in on, cutting headcount all the time. It's not necessarily cutting headcount, but enabling you to grow without adding additional people. So I think like we generate sort of close to 300,000, 400,000 pounds per employee, which is a key metric for us. And so ultimately, we'd like to get that to £1 million per employee and beyond. And I think that's really possible with what's going on and how you can really leverage some of this technology.
No, that's amazing. That it's one of those key metrics that's become so much more popular since AI. A lot of the AI companies are reporting on it. I saw a big company called Pops are reporting on hitting $1 million of ARR per employee. Definitely seems like it's becoming more important. I wanted to touch quickly on your fundraising and your raising more generally. You raised, I think it was £300 million debt facility recently. You last fundraised back in 2024. How have you found the fundraising process, I guess, on the equity side first as a second-time founder, and then we can talk about the debt facility as well.
So on the equity funding, I think like we are in a difficult space. Lending has never been super popular with VCs, which I think is a bit of a blessing and a curse. Like I think for, because very few lending business have been funding, I think the ones that are getting to scale now are being highly valued and they have very limited competition. So I think the ones that are in the right space can win very big. But we've had some incredible like early investors like QED, Venture Friends, AliCorp, and a few other VCs, which have been incredibly supportive about helping us scale. So I think we've raised about 45 million in equity so far. But if I'm really honest, like there's been points where I've been against a brick wall thinking, am I ever gonna get this done? I remember once where we had to stop lending for a couple of days because we were literally very close to running out of money. But we managed to get through and continue to build. And that's mainly thanks to the incredible investors that we've got. And there's obviously quite a large court case. I don't know if you're aware, but there's a hidden commission court case that will be the final hearing in the Supreme Court is this Friday. Off the back of that, it's expected that a large proportion of the traditional car finance lenders will be in a huge amount of trouble financially, plus also having to deal with all the claims. So off the back of that, we'll expect to probably fundraise in September to really kind of make sure we capture even more growth. We're already growing to 150% year on year, so I think we can probably accelerate that a little bit more off the back of that. So equity has been a challenge, but equity is always a challenge, and it's just part of being an entrepreneur. On the debt side, though, we're probably one of the most popular kind of asset classes. It's asset-backed. Auto lending has been the highest performing asset class of all consumer lending. Even like 08, 09, it outperformed mortgages and significantly credit cards and other unsecured kind of lending. So it's an extremely popular asset class with, private credit plus large retail banks. So I think I would say it's been relatively easy on the debt side. Debt is never easy because the actual transaction, if you don't know what you're doing, is very complex. So we have an incredible guy, Fred, that leads on that side of it. And there's been huge demand for what we offer as a product, especially with the performance of the loans that we've written.
You mentioned there's been incredible demand. I recently read that when you launched the landing page, within hours there were hundreds of signups for the product. There was so much kind of need for that product and want for that product from the market. If you were going to start a B2C company now, from what you've learned, kind of how would you start that? Where would you market? There's a lot of talk about building in public, making sure that you're seen on LinkedIn, on X. Can you give any flavor on that and building a B2C company from scratch now?
Great question. I think that some of the AI companies are doing some really nice stuff with their kind of hype marketing.
100%.
And so I think it's about, I really like some of these D2C companies that are kind of positioning as cheating for X, whether that's kind of cheating for an exam or a job interview, or
Clearly.
I think that is, cheating for a live podcast.
Yeah, we've got to open up right now.
We're not even in the studio right now.
So I think that, definitely. I think that that's really interesting and something that obviously can drive mega demands. And these people that are thinking about distribution before they start and how you get consumers interested, even before you've developed the product, is a great way to build it. And I think the influencers have played this playbook. It doesn't matter if you're Jake Paul or a new AI company. I think it's a really powerful way of ultimately building demand and building interest in the product category that you're doing, and then obviously you can then execute the product off the back of it. But I think ultimately, the same with Carmoola is can you acquire the customers? What do the unit economics look like? If you obviously solve the biggest part of that, which is distribution and brand, then I think you're on to a big winner.
And it's also where your customers are, right? Where are they living? And I imagine, I don't know, are Carmoola customers on X? Do you want to be a big kind of X influencer if you're the CEO of Carmoola? I don't know.
Probably not. I think if you're a B2B company, maybe for consumers, I think if you think about the average consumer in the UK that is interested in a car, they're on your traditional platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I was looking at a crazy stat, which was what percentage of low and medium households are using OpenAI, and it's a very, very small percentage compared to higher income families. So I think you really kind of need to think, where is your consumer? How are they interacting with this brand? And ultimately, you've got to go to the places they are. But for example, we've done a lot of founder-led ads on TikTok, and although I've made a cameo in that, I think it's the best performing performance ad now. And so I think consumers want that authentic and that real personality behind the brand. And I think that's becoming more and more important as we go forward.
And have you got a big push planned for the Supreme Court ruling on Friday?
Yeah, so we plan to do some pretty big activity off the back of it. So we still think TV is a really key part of this. We've been using TV. A lot of our consumers are still consuming TV. So we're in process of, like, we've already done TV, so we plan to expand that quite a bit, and then just ramp all the other kind of channels off the back of it. But really, there's just, it's more about, showing consumer there's a better way and really empowering them to get their finance sorted before they go and buy their car, so that they can get a better deal and a more transparent and better experience. So that's what we're here to do. And I think that there's, this is just going to drive trust in Carmoola even more.
Amazing. It sounds like you've got a lot of very exciting things coming up with the Supreme Court ruling, potential raise later this year, growing incredibly fast. Are there any sort of financial user milestones that you want to hit in the next 18 months, whether it's 50 million of revenue, 100 billion of revenue, whatever it is?
Yes, of course. So I think, like, the goal will be, like, I like to think of them more in terms of delivery and number of customers than the revenue target. So I'm really excited I can announce that we're just about to launch PCP today, which is a huge product. So PCP will enable customers to lease a car rather than just buy the whole car. So that will be live at 12 o'clock today. So customers will be able to access. That would be a really cool, nice live exclusive for you guys. And we'll be launching car insurance later this year, early part of next year as well. So consumers will have like a fully integrated purchase journey where they can buy the car and tap to add car insurance as well, which will be really cool. And so the goal will be, we'll probably hit about 20,000 customers this year. And then next year, we're probably getting closer to 50,000 customers. We're looking at international growth in the US and a couple of other markets. So my goal is to get to 1 million customers by 2030. So yeah, let's keep pushing and keep delivering value to those consumers and to make that possible.
Amazing. That's our first scoop. So thank you for that. You're talking about international expansion and product expansion. How do you decide which products to roll out to next, and how do you decide what markets to roll into next?
I think, like, the world's best companies now, like, it's quite an established playbook to run a product expansion plus an international expansion. On the product side, we heavily focus on, what is going to drive the maximum value to the consumer. So I think you can get very wrapped up in doing very, very small things. It's like, but you want to kind of blend the small things with the big kind of strategic pieces, like car insurance, like these other things. And how do you use that to cross sell or introduce the customers to more of your product set? And so it's really about thinking about those things. But we use like an effort versus reward scale. We actually recently built a sort of strategic scorecard, if you like, that we kind of analyze, how's this going to improve defensibility? Like, what is the customer value? How hard is this to execute? What are the regulatory risks? And all the various things that we kind of build a scorecard with different weightings. And so that's kind of how we think about all of these initiatives. And we weigh them against each other and kind of make the decisions off the back. So quite analytical, but with an element of gut feel around, okay. And then usually from that point, we'll then usually go and test it and explore those in further detail. So test it in the product, be like what the propensity to purchase it will be, and then just build the data set to get to a higher level of conviction that this will work, and then drive it from there.
Nice. And yeah, it sounds very analytical. We're running out of time. We've got 2 minutes left. I wanted to ask 2 more questions, Aidan. First question, what's it like working with your wife? You mentioned that she is like co-founder, working on product. What's that like?
Incredible. Like, ultimately, you get to spend every day and every minute with the person you think the world of. But it does come with challenges. Like, ultimately, you're dealing with a highly stressed situation a lot of the time. So it's a difficult mix to get right between, kind of driving as the CEO and then having to be a husband as well. And so, yeah, it comes with challenges, but I'm extremely grateful that I get to do it and share the journey with someone that you're clearly quite committed to spending the rest of your life with. So it is good.
Yeah. I can imagine there's like a lot of work at work, a lot of work back at home as well. Final question: any advice? What would you give, to aspiring entrepreneurs, people thinking about taking the leap?
I think think big and really go for it and commit. Like I think you've got to really think big in these days. I think there's so much opportunity, probably more opportunity than ever, and so much access to actually get stuff done. I remember when I started, it was so complicated, so difficult. There was so little information. But now there's no excuse. There's so much information out there. There's so many ways in which you can test products and get stuff. So I think make sure you think big and have a kind of big vision, but think about how you're going to execute it and do the basics as well, like how you're going to make money. What is this really valuable to the consumer? And then really test those things as much as possible before you actually really start committing to build something out.
Amazing, great advice. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for the scoop. We will be watching, and if you ever hit those milestones, if you're thinking about announcing a fundraise, you know where to come.
Come to
All
ETS
right, thanks,
Live.
guys. Pleasure.
Good to meet you, Aidan. Cheers.
Bye-bye.